The evolution of space exploration. We chose to go to the moon. We chose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. John F. Kennedy, September 12, 1962. JFK gave this speech to inspire the American people to get to the moon before the Russians during the Cold War. This was a turning point in the evolution of space exploration because it provided extra funding and research towards the goal of getting America into space. However, before the mission to the moon, there were many other amazing achievements that led up to the Apollo flights. The first rocket ever used to begin the expeditions to space was a German V-2 rocket. Even though the original use of the rocket during World War II by Nazi Germany was not one of good merit, they did lay the groundwork for liquid fuel rockets of the future. The beginning of space exploration started during the Cold War. It was called the space race. In October of 1957, the first ever satellite to enter and orbit the Earth was a Russian satellite called Sputnik. This 184-pound metal ball flew through the atmosphere at 18,000 miles per hour and revolves around the Earth every hour and 36 minutes. The United States, 1 year later, in 1958, made their own satellite and called it Explorer 1. The turmoil between the Soviet Union and the Americans continued throughout the entirety of the Cold War. Later, in the Soviet Union, on April 12, 1961, Yuri Gagarin was the first ever cosmonaut to go to space in a manned aircraft. He completed an orbit around the Earth before his aircraft came back down to the surface. In America, the first man to enter space was Alan Shepard. His craft did not achieve a full orbit, however. John Glenn was the first American to complete a full orbit around the Earth. Over 8 years after Yuri Gagarin's flight into space, the Apollo 11 took off from Kennedy Space Center. The famous space mission Apollo 11 occurred on July 16, 1969. 4 days later, on July 20th, the three amazing astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins touched down on the moon's surface. With Neil Armstrong's famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," we had finally landed a man on the moon. Apollo 11 was on the moon for 21 hours and 31 minutes before it took off on its trip back to Earth. Fun fact, the computers used in Apollo 11 to get to the moon were less powerful than the iPhones that we all use today. After the moon landing, there are many other achievements in space exploration. The Voyager missions in the late 1970s were an attempt to go where no man has gone before. They are two unmanned spacecrafts whose primary objective was to explore the outer planets and currently deep space. They have flown past Pluto and out of our solar system, currently traveling roughly 10 miles a second or 36,000 miles per hour. They are still sending information back to Earth. The next major advancement in space exploration was the creation of the International Space Station. The space station was a joint effort that started in 1998 by the Soviet Union and the USA. The construction is still being added to today and will be completed in 2024. The ISS serves as a microgravity and space environment research laboratory in which crew members conduct experiments in biology, human biology, physics, astronomy, meteorology, and other fields. This creation was a turning point in the relationship between Russia and the United States. With the new technologies of rovers on Mars, there are many new things adding to our knowledge of space. With hope, one day in the future, we will be able to take a manned mission to Mars. From there, the possibilities are endless. Thank you for listening. This has been Andrew Pruitt.